Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about EDP445 once again because some pretty major news has hit the internet, and I feel like a lot of people haven't even really addressed it yet. That is, if people even really know about it. This might even still just be kind of underground, not really known, but I saw a video on Twitter yesterday that basically confirmed some news about EDP445 directly from the cupcake eater himself, and it's some pretty bad news for him, right? And basically the news is EDP445 is suffering from stage 5 kidney failure. So obviously EDP445 has become an immensely controversial figure on the internet after basically ousting himself as a pedophile in a video that hit the internet last year, and since then has doubled, tripled, even quadrupled down on his actions, it seems like, and has tried to continually make a career comeback online. So obviously he's become probably one of the most hated people on the internet, right? Like, whenever his name is brought up, whenever there's any news surrounding EDP445, pretty much everybody is quick to remind everyone that, well, this guy is essentially a pedo and he deserves no sympathy, deserves no attention, and at the end of the day is just kind of a scumbag, right? He really hasn't been able to escape the allegations. He hasn't really been able to kind of get away from everything that was going on after that all broke down, and for the most part, his online presence has shrunk down pretty significantly. He's lost pretty much his entire career, but he did take to Instagram, where apparently he has an account, and he was on Instagram Live, you know, like just, I guess, chatting with the people who follow him and whatnot, and he ended up breaking this news to everybody here.
Yeah, I actually do have kidney failure. Stage 5.
Now, for those of you who don't know, stage 5 kidney failure is a very serious thing to go through. I mean, this is one of your most important organs suffering from failure. There are things that can be done to try and address it, but it's pretty much like last ditch, last resort kind of efforts, you know? It's not like, you know, you can't just go to the doctor and get prescribed a medicine and it goes away kind of thing, right? It takes a very significant amount of treatment. You have to basically make a major life adjustment, and it's pretty costly from what I understand, especially here in the United States, to deal with something like this, right? So yeah, EDP445 is struggling with stage 5 kidney failure, and well, there's a pretty divided reaction online. Now, when I say divided, I don't want to say it's like a 50-50 division, it's more of like a 90-10. On one hand, you have people who say things like, oh, I wouldn't wish death on anybody, he doesn't really deserve to go through something like this, something so traumatic, right? And then on the other hand, you have people who say, you know what, fuck this guy, he's a pedophile, he doesn't care about the harm that he's caused other people and the insane actions that he's taken. Why should we care about him, right? So in this video, I want to talk about what exactly is going on with the stage 5 kidney disease, what the outlook could really be for EDP445 here, because it seems like a lot of people are just automatically assuming that he's gonna die, and it seems like a lot of people think he's gonna die like within the next couple weeks. But also on top of that, we're gonna talk about, is EDP445 lying about this for clout, and just kind of discussing the situation in general itself. So stage 5 kidney disease, there's really only two ways out of it, at least from the research that I've done online. There's only really two ways to survive something like this, and even then, one of the options only really kind of extends your lifespan. It doesn't really save your life, it just kind of lets you go on a little bit longer. So going forward, there's really only two options for EDP445 to get through this stage 5 kidney disease, right? Either A, he can go on dialysis, which from what I've researched will expand your lifespan on average maybe 5 to 10 years, could be less, could be more. There's been people who've lived a few decades even with stage 5 kidney failure living on dialysis, but obviously EDP445 is not in the best of health anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and just assume that that wouldn't be the case, right? So if he makes it to the average, 5 to 10 more years, so it's not like he's gonna be dead within the next 2 days, unless he just does literally nothing to treat it or try and solve it. But that's one option. Or number two, he could have a kidney transplant. Now, the issue with this, from what I know, is that there's usually very long wait lists when it comes to organ transplants. There's a lot of people who need new kidneys and whatnot for all kinds of different reasons, and there's usually a pretty long wait list that you have to enter yourself onto in order to end up getting a healthy kidney that someone will donate to you so that you can basically have another crack at life. And so for someone like EDP445, if he wanted to go down the route of having a kidney transplant, transplant, he may even have to wait like years before he could find a legitimate kidney that could come to him and actually help save his life or make his life better in any way. So either option that can really be used to treat this stage 5 kidney disease doesn't really have a great outlook, you know what I mean? Either A, he's just kind of extending the inevitable where, you know, he might get a couple more years out of life before he eventually passes away from the damage, or he's gonna have to potentially wait years before he can get a healthy kidney donated to him, unless he finds someone willing to donate it and, like, I guess bypass the whole list. But usually that doesn't really happen. It's pretty hard to find someone who's just willing to give up a kidney like that and just willing, especially to someone like EDP445. Like, this guy is well known across the internet for basically being a pedophile. Like, there's video evidence of it. He's been exposed numerous times for it, right? Like, it's gonna be hard for this guy to find, I feel like, someone who's gonna want to give him a kidney, especially if they do even a shred of, like, background info, like, checks on him, I guess. Because, I mean, you just look the guy's name up and you're gonna have thousands of YouTube videos exposing the guy, all the evidence and everything coming up, right? Like, both ways don't really look great for him, right? And people online, now that the news is starting to kind of break and, like, it's starting to make its rounds and whatnot, right? People are, like, celebrating, you know? They're like, oh, fuck it, EDP445 pack in the air, you know, he's gonna die, LOL. Now, I feel pretty conflicted on this because I really understand people on both sides of it, but basically, you know, on one hand, you have people who are like, you shouldn't wish death on people, even if they do terrible things, right? Like, that's not really something you should wish on somebody. You know, he doesn't deserve to die. Then on the other hand, you have people who are like, once again, who gives a fuck, right? Like, he's a pedophile. Why would I care that, you know, a pedophile's gonna die? Now, for me personally, right, like, I heard the news and, like, I'm not sitting around like, oh, wow, I hope EDP445 dies from kidney failure, right? Like, that's just not really me, man. I don't know, like, it just sounds like a really shitty way to die, right? And I feel like the karma of doing something like that can really kind of come back, and, you know, I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm glad he's dying or anything, right? Because that just doesn't feel right. But I definitely understand people who are, you know, people who are celebrating the news. Like, at the end of the day, this guy's a fucking pedophile, you know what I mean? And, like, I don't even use that word lightly. He literally admitted it, basically, and there's video of it, bro. He tried to groom and meet a 13-year-old for sex in an apartment complex. So, like, at that point, you can't come back from that, man. So people who are, like, celebrating that he has kidney disease and, like, wishing death on him, I get why people are doing it, especially because, you know, a lot of people are victims of those kinds of things, you know, sexual assault and especially childhood sexual abuse. So it's not a surprise that so many people, I feel like, are, like, happy that this dude is on the verge of death or whatever. But for me personally, I'm not gonna sit here and, like, throw a party about it, you know? It's a guy that I've never met on the internet dying of kidney disease, you know what I mean? It really has no impact on my life whether he lives or dies. I'm just, like, it may sound a little cold or harsh, but that's just the truth. Like, this guy's not my fucking friend. He's not part of my family. I don't know this guy in real life. Like, if he were to die, it wouldn't be like, you know, my life would be personally affected. So I don't really care either way. It just kind of sucks for him, right? Because he's in the position where, like, his life is legitimately in danger type shit. But I more or less just kind of understand both sides, right? It really just is about personal preference, right? Like, if you hope that he dies, or you think it's funny or whatever, or you think that it's karma coming back to get him, I really don't blame you, because, like, he really did some pretty unforgivable, inexcusable shit. And then the big thing about it is, like, he's just shown absolutely no remorse. Like, he hasn't made any effort to, like, change, go to, like, counseling for it or anything, right? He just kind of, like, accepted the fact that he's a pedophile and, like, has just tried to, like, sneak his way back into the limelight over all this time and basically make a name for himself again and give himself a platform again, even though, you know, he's pretty much banned off, like, YouTube and stuff like that. They took his channel down, but he's been trying to come back, you know, on, like, Instagram and other platforms and whatnot. But there's also another thing that people are saying that I think is also very intriguing too, and that is the questioning people have, right? Because obviously EDP445 has not shown himself to be a very trustworthy person. You know, he basically has tried to defend himself at every turn, considering the shit that he did in the past, right? And he just seems to have no remorse for it or any care at all really for it. He kind of just seems to be in his own world, not giving a shit about, like, what people think about that, which it's whatever, man. Like, if you don't want to care that people know you're a pedophile, like, it doesn't make you look any better. But that's the big thing too, is, like, he obviously doesn't have a very good moral compass, you know what I mean? Like, this is a guy, he's literally a fucking pedophile. There's no way around it. So it's not like he's really morally conscious or anything like that. It's not like this is a good person, somebody who would never do something bad, right? So there's also people out there questioning whether or not essentially that he's lying and making this up for a couple different reasons, right? Now, one of those reasons could be he just wants sympathy, right? After everything that's happened, after his career is basically over with now, he's never really ever going to be back in the same position that he was in at one point in time, right? People think that maybe he's doing this just to play the sympathy card, right? Like a woe is me kind of thing. Oh, feel bad for me, the pedophile, because I have stage 5 kidney failure. Just completely lying about it. No one really knows, right? Because from what I've seen, he didn't show like any test results or like any physical or really any proof at all. He just kind of said it in passing on an Instagram live. So is it possible that EDP445 is lying for sympathy? I would not totally be surprised, but there is another reason why people think that he might actually be lying about this, and it makes sense. But basically, people are speculating that he might be lying about having kidney failure so that he can eventually try and like garner donations and like sympathy funds from the people who still support him. And I know to like a normal person that sounds crazy, like there's people who still support EDP445, but you got to think, in that live, if you look up at the top right, there were 1,200 people in that Instagram live. There were people in the comments, hyping him up. Oh, we love you, EDP. He still has fans. There's still people out there who basically deny that he did anything wrong, which I don't know how they could, considering there's so much proof that he did something wrong, but there are still people out there that support him, and now people are questioning whether or not he's essentially lying to people so that maybe he can try and get some donations, try and scrape together a little money off of sympathy or whatever. Once again, man, I would be totally not surprised. Like, I mean, this is once again somebody who just doesn't really care about morality, someone who doesn't care about being a good person, really. So it's really just a big confusing situation, and at the end of the day, if he does have stage 5 kidney failure like he's saying he does, it's obviously a very serious situation, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say, so let me know down in the comments below. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers. Your support helps the channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, talking about EDP445's kidney failure and signing out.